discrimination or retaliation, but because Councillor Derwachter needs to be made accountable.
Tonight, heated words from Hermantown Director of Economic Development Chad Ronchetti towards one Duluth City Councillor. Good evening, I'm Laura Lee. Thanks for joining us. His comments in response to a recent post by Duluth City Councillor Wendy Derwachter. The post takes aims at Ronchetti, who is a former planning and economic director for Duluth. Tonight, Ronchetti calling for the councillor to be censured. Northern News Now's Dominic Vitiello just returned from that council meeting. He joins us live from the newsroom with what this stems from. Dom?
Laura, yes, Chad Ronchetti is the former Director of Planning and Economic Development for the City of Duluth. He's now the current Economic Development Director for the City of Hermantown. At issue is a public post Councillor Wendy Derwachter made taking aim at Ronchetti's current involvement on a controversial data center project in Hermantown. In the online post that has since been taken down, Derwachter said, quote, "He screwed Duluth over with the incline fraud. Now he's screwing over Hermantown. What's next? Come on, Hermantown Council. It's time to make things right." Derwachter is referring to the failed $500 million Incline Village housing development in Duluth's Hillside neighborhood at the Old Central High School location. DEDA terminated the contract earlier this summer after the developer failed to meet contract obligations. Now, Derwachter tying him to the highly controversial Hermantown data center project. Ronchetti using the public comments at City Council to address the allegation, saying it's wrong to tie him to the failure of Incline Village.
What I am asking tonight has significant gravity, yet the toxicity and the animosity that some believe is acceptable must be reproached. We must find a way as a society to once again have civil discourse, for that is the very foundation of our democracy.
Ronchetti also calling for Derwachter to be censured, essentially asking for a formal reprimand. But Derwachter stands by her statement and says public leaders ought to be held to a higher standard.
I believe that everything I said was true, and an opinion from a public official to another public official, I believe that is completely legal, and I feel strongly that I was representing the voices of my community.
Derwachter says it's her job to call out injustice when she sees it.
So, Dom, what would be the process to censure a councillor? Was there a discussion on that tonight?
Actually, no, Laura. I spoke with Council President Therese Tominac after this exchange to find out what, if any, action will be taken against Councillor Derwachter when it comes to a censure. Tominac chose not to comment at this time.
All right. Dominic Video live to us from our newsroom. Thank you so much, Dom.